today's episode of Beardchanics Garage, I'm going to go over what it's been like living with an electric vehicle for 4 months. Stuck behind a fucking cyclist. I fucking hate cyclists. There's a pavement right there, you wanker, get on there. Right then. Okay, so for the most part, with having an electric vehicle, you can more or less forget that it's an electric vehicle and just drive it like a normal car. That's what the dealership told us, and to be honest, that is pretty much the case. So for us, I mean, if you're like us and you just need a car to get you to and from work, if you don't work too far away from where you live, so if you're within the same town, it's perfect. So as a family vehicle, this car does the school runs every day, does shopping trips and the odd excursion. It's absolutely perfect. You know, the 140-mile range that we've got from a full charge will more or less do us for an entire week. So we tend to just charge up once a week, really. More if we do some excursions in the evenings, because we're a family that does like to go out for a drive. But on the whole, you don't even really notice that it's an electric vehicle, other than the fact that it's a hell of a lot cheaper to run. And for us as well, the sort of drives we like to do are usually in the evening. So we'll get back from a school run, say, and if we decide that we're going to have a little evening drive, we'll put the car on charge straight away, and then go out after dinner, and it's usually mostly charged by then anyway. So and then from where we are in North Essex, we can drive into Suffolk, which has some lovely roads, or we drive down to Southend and back again, which is South Essex for those of you that don't know the area. It's probably about 90 to 100 mile round trip, I suppose. But it's obviously Southend, for those that don't know, is a seaside town. It has the biggest pleasure pier in the world. Excuse me. And we have some friends down that way as well. So the range on the car is sufficient for that. We also love driving up into London. And I think I mentioned in one of our other videos that as long as the car is fully charged and you put it in eco mode, we can actually get from our place on the far side of Colchester right up into central London. So we're talking Trafalgar Square, because we've got we found out that you can park for free after 6 o'clock in the city of Westminster. So yeah, you can mostly park for free in London, which is quite cool. So we drive up in the evenings, and we usually get there around 8 o'clock or so, park up, and then from Trafalgar Square, where we park, you can walk up into Leicester Square, and you've got restaurants, there's clubs, there's all sorts there, and we just generally have a mooch around London for a bit. We're also only a short walk from the Embankment, and I forget which bridge it is, but one of the bridges, so you can go over and then you're on the South Bank. It's yeah, it's a nice area of London to park in, and we found we can actually get all the way there and back again without needing to stop for a charge. So it's been absolutely perfect for us in that sense. We get to do evening drives, and as a general everyday car, it's fantastic. That being said, there are a few little gripes with the range, and then a few little things that we have found with living with the car. And most of the time, the issues that we've got are around long journeys. So I haven't had to do a particularly long journey in this yet, but my partner's now done a couple, and she shared her experiences with me. So she had to drive up to Birmingham a little while ago, and there were issues around booking a hotel that has a charging point. So not all hotels have electric charging points, and even those that do, you have to make sure that you can reserve that space for you, and then you're relying on the hotel to actually do it. And sometimes they will charge for this as well. So that's all a consideration when you're booking hotels, because the last thing you want when you're going to come home is only have a little bit of fuel range left, and you've then got the stress of finding somewhere to charge up, and you've got to charge it up from full. So your best bet is to be able to charge it at the hotel. So for my partner, she had to do about a third of the journey, pull into a service station that she knew, charge it for about 40 minutes or so. That's the good thing. If you can get a decent fast charger when you're out, it will charge the car up to 80% in about 40 minutes, that's pretty good. We're quite pleased with that figure. So, and in practice, it's been 40 minutes to an hour, I suppose, and then you get the majority of the car charged. So that being said, one of the actual car charging companies that you'll find at service stations and such like, your electric charging points, a company called Ecotricity. They're having some major problems at the moment, and their charging points don't seem to be working very well. They're upgrading them all to tap and pay, which is a much easier system. But if you're using one of their older charge points that hasn't been upgraded yet, we've had nothing but problems with them so far. So my partner got to, she was coming back from Birmingham, and the hotel unfortunately did not have charging, so she only had 40 miles of range when she had to come home. So she stopped at the services on the M6, I believe it was, and plugged into an Ecotricity charging point, charged the car for 45 minutes. So she downloaded the app, she had to go and sign in and then pay for her the electricity she was going to use. So she did it all then through the app, and the app said it had charged the car. And when she got back into the car, it had only actually charged it a little bit. She got 5 miles of extra range, and that was it. So she'd been at the service station for an hour at this point, and it hadn't even charged the car at all. So she then had to find another charging point. Fortunately, there was more than one different type of charger at the service station, so she was able to use another one, and then that charged the car fully. Unfortunately, what she didn't realise was she'd then been at that service station for more than 2 hours, and it's only 2 hours that you're allowed to park there for free. So she had a £100 fine come through the door, and all because their charging point wasn't working. So we're in the process of appealing that at the moment, but it really does mean you're going to have to plan ahead and see, not only does your plan stop have a charging point, but who runs that charging point, what company is it? There's BP Pulse, Ecotricity, there's quite a few different companies out there, but for us, we're going to have to try and avoid stops that have Ecotricity charging points, because we just do not trust them, and for good reason too. So it all adds to the stress of going for long journeys. But obviously the whole range problem with electric cars is going to be a problem with whichever car you've got. The biggest problem for us is that we've got such a small range to begin with. And again, as far as I can tell, the Teslas and I think the Audi electric cars have like a 300-mile range, something like that. Even 200 miles would have been great, but 140, that makes it a lot harder for us to work with. But any long journey is going to be significantly harder than it would be normally. But generally though, as long as the electric charging points are working as they're supposed to, you can plan to stop every sort of 100 miles, charge the car for 40 minutes, and then drive another 100 miles and stop to charge the car. So yeah, I mean, obviously the time that you spend does add up, but you know, it's certainly doable. But for me personally, I think the infrastructure isn't quite there yet. It's not ready for full implementation of electric cars. Right, so that covers the charging on the go. The other issue when you're charging at home is obviously you notice that you're not having to spend out on petrol all the time, which is fantastic. What you must also though realise is the fact that that cost is instead going to go onto your electricity bill. So you really have to keep an eye on how much you're using. So if you are someone who has who pays by direct debit and they just get a bill every quarter or every year even, you're going to see obviously a massive step up in the cost of your electricity bill. We have a key meter, and we've noticed on a few occasions we've put quite a bit more on the electric than we would normally, and then the next minute, you know, you've run out. We've had, because it's now the summer holidays, so we've been doing a bit more driving in the evenings. So we're charging the car maybe twice a week. So I think the dealership told us it was around £7 to fill up, like to fully charge from practically empty. We're lucky that we've got solar panels on our roof, so it does kind of half our electricity use. So for us, it's probably £3, maybe £4 to fill up a full charge. But if you're doing that all the time, that's like, you know, £7 to £8 a week of extra electricity we're using just in charging the car. So they're kind of it eats up a lot quicker than you think. It adds up very, very quickly. So however it is you pay your electricity bill, you're going to have to keep an eye on the fact that you're going to incur a lot more money, the charges on your electricity bill. Obviously, it's still far cheaper than using petrol, but because you're not physically going to the pump and spending that money at the time, you kind of don't realise it, but it will sneak up on you and catch you off guard if you're not careful. So yeah, you're not going to be spending the money every week on petrol, but put some money by to allow for the extra electricity costs that you're going to get. One of the other issues with this guy is that we've had the BP, I think it was BP, come and install the electric charging point at our home. But the biggest problem is with this car, because it's quite long, because it's an SUV. The electric charging cable from the charging point isn't long enough to get to the front of the car. If you've reversed in, even if we reverse right up to the charging point, it cannot get all the way to the front of the car, which I think was a bad design. Most of the other electric cars I've seen, their charging port is in the same kind of place where you would find the fuel cap, which is at the side, and that would have been fine because it wouldn't have mattered how we parked on our driveway. We could charge it, but to charge this car, we have to park in front ways, which may not sound like a problem, but the road we live on is quite narrow and has a large amount of traffic. There's a lot of people park on that road, and it makes pulling in front ways can be really, really difficult. So if it was probably another metre longer, the cable would be okay, and we could reverse parking, which is much easier, and still charge the car. But yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, always having to pull in front ways to charge up. So we often get people park opposite us, and we'll have cars either side of our driveway. And again, it just makes it really, really difficult to get in and out. But it's easier to get out of our driveway when you reverse out. But trying to go front ways in is really hard. It's nitpicking, I suppose, but it's just one of the things that you have to consider with an electric vehicle that you wouldn't normally. Again, we're lucky in that we've got a driveway that we can park it on. I'm not quite sure how it would work if we had a flat or a house that's just built in like a townhouse where you don't have a driveway or even a front garden. It's just outside of your house is the street. So again, electric vehicles are great, but it's not going to work for everybody. I really don't know how you would go about it. And obviously you pay the least amount to charge your car when you charge it at home, but when you charge your car out and about, i.e. at a service station or a lot of supermarkets and stuff now, and like industrial estate car parks have electric charging points in, but you pay a higher rate to charge your car, and you pay I think you pay a charge each time as well. So it's more expensive to charge your car out and about. So I imagine if you buy an electric vehicle when you don't have the ability to have a charging point installed at home, the only way you're going to be able to charge it really is out, and it's then going to be a lot more expensive than it would normally be. Okay, it's still cheaper than running a petrol car, say, but it doesn't make it a lot cheaper, which is what most people would expect when they're running an electric car. And the other thing I suppose as well is, even if you do have a driveway, depending on the electrics in your house, you may not be able to have a charging point installed anyway. We had to take photos of our our electric meter for them to verify and make sure that actually we could have a charging point set up, because it uses a larger draw of power than the house is used to drawing. We're not going to crash. That's the other thing I don't like, the impact sensor. It constantly tells you you're going to crash when you're not, which is annoying. But then if at any point someone seems to brake hard in front of you unexpectedly, and you're actually more likely to crash, it never seems to go off. I mean, for the record, I've never crashed this car. Neither of us have. But it tells you off for late braking. But on the few occasions it's been a bit of a close one, you've had to hit the brakes. It's not gone off. Yeah, sorry. So I was talking about the whether or not you'd be able to even install one first. So if you are seriously considering getting an electric car, actually contact BP Pulse or whoever it is in your area that installs the charging points. Contact them first and make sure you can actually have a charging point installed in the first place. Because if you can't, then it makes owning an electric vehicle considerably more difficult, and again, more expensive than you would originally think. On the plus side though, being an electric vehicle, if you live in or you like to regularly visit a large city, you don't have to pay the ultra low emission charges, because obviously you have zero emissions in an electric car. At the moment in London, with an electric vehicle, you also don't have to pay the congestion charge, obviously because they want to encourage people in the city to buy electric cars, but that's not a permanent thing. Now I believe from 2025 we will have to start paying the congestion charge even in an electric car. So you know, it's only good for so long. And again, these are just things that we've discovered since owning the car. My biggest concern is that once the production of fossil fuel vehicles ceases and all vehicles are electric vehicles, the government eventually, because they're not going to be making their money from fuel tax, and everyone's going to be paying a lot less road tax, eventually they're going to introduce road pricing. And I don't know whether you agree with it or not. I haven't met a single person that does, and for me that will just absolutely kill all the fun out of driving, because with road pricing, everyone has a tracker in their vehicle and you pay per mile to drive, and you get a bill, I don't know if it's monthly, weekly or what, but you just incur a bill for driving your car per mile. And apparently the different types of roads you drive on are more expensive. And so like I think they were kicking around something like £1 a mile if you drive on a motorway. Now again, if you want to drive go on holiday within the UK, it can cost you hundreds of pounds just to drive there. And I really don't like that idea. But that's got nothing to do with owning this car anyway. It's just one of the things that I'm personally concerned about with electric vehicles in the future. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That'll be the right time for a revolution. So anyway, that's what it's been like with living with an electric car for the last 4 months. This car in particular, it's like I said, it's absolutely lovely. It looks good, it's comfortable. But yeah, it's just you have to make some alterations when driving an electric vehicle. We've done 4,200 miles in this since owning it, and every one of them's been a pleasure. But so yeah, apart from those few problems of it takes a lot of extra planning to do a long journey, and obviously long journeys will take significantly longer. You have to stop more frequently because you don't have the range, and then you have to stop for a longer period. So next time we want to go to Cornwall, which is a long drive anyway, that's going to take us a lot longer. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it too. So I hope you enjoyed that anyway and found it informative. So if you did, drop us a like, please subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, leave us a comment and see what you think. Let us know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one. So see you later. Bye bye.